Hi boys and girls. Today we're going to be continuing our work and using a 2-column note to plan a literary response. We're going to be focusing on our new book, The Time Warp Trio, Your Mother Was a Neanderthal. Our writing prompt for today: what kind of a character is Joe? In your response, be sure to identify a character trait for Joe and cite 2 pieces of text evidence. So I've set up a 2-column note, which is just like the graphic organizer that we've been using when we're doing this kind of work. So you can see on my left column, I've got all the different pieces of our rice, ice strategy and a clincher at the bottom to wrap it up. To restate my question, I went back to the original writing prompt and I took some of those words, and here is my restatement. In Your Mother Was a Neanderthal by John Siska, Joe is an optimistic character. So to introduce the evidence, I wanted to think of one time in the book where we've seen Joe be optimistic, and I decided to go right back to the beginning. I used my transition. For example, when the Time Warp Trio finds themselves in prehistoric times, Joe looks on the bright side. Now I'm ready to cite my evidence. Again, I went right onto page 1. I used my sentence starter. In the text it states, we didn't lose everything. Sam still has his glasses, you've got your hat, and I've got my straw. And since it's the first time that I am citing from the text, I'm including the author's last name and the page number that I found it on. And then I have my period on the outside. Now I'm ready to explain my evidence, and I'm going to use the sentence starter, this shows. So this shows that Joe is able to look on the bright side when he faces a problematic situation. Now I'm ready to introduce a second piece of evidence. So I want to think back to the book and find a second time that I've seen Joe be optimistic, like it says up here in my claim. So I started thinking about the time that the boys were in the cave and they first encountered the cave women. So I decided to use the transition, another example. So another example of Joe being optimistic is when the boys meet the group of cave women. So I tried to find a line that really shows Joe being the optimistic one and being really positive. Again, I used my starter. In the text it states, let me try to talk to them. This time I've just put the page number because I've already used my author's last name up here and I haven't used any other text besides that. To explain my evidence, I used my sentence starter, this shows. So this shows that despite watching Fred and Sam fail at communicating with the cave woman, Joe was still willing to try. And last but not least, my clincher to wrap this whole paragraph up. In conclusion, Joe is an optimistic person who is able to stay positive in difficult situations. So notice my clincher relates right back up to my restate the question in my claim where I said that Joe was optimistic. I didn't say the same exact thing for my clincher, but I kept the same big idea of Joe being an optimistic person. So now that you've watched me plan out a response for Joe, you're going to try planning out a response for Sam. So how would you describe Sam? In your response, be sure to identify a character trait for Sam and cite 2 pieces of text evidence. You're going to be working with this same 2-column note that I've just used for Joe and you've used for color of my words. If you would like to go back and rewatch this video or pause it at any point, you can absolutely use this as a model to help guide you through your writing. Good luck.